All of my castmates have been super.
Pause. The idea of giving her contacts that blocked her vision for weeks and then having her cosplay as blind. I'm sorry. Guess who wouldn't have needed to practice? Guess who wouldn't have needed weeks to practice? A blind person. My fiance is a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and for many years I have heard about the character Toph, who is the blind character in the show. Now, one of my very good friends, Ross Miner, who I actually had on my podcast, he was one of my first guests on What It's Really Like. I will leave his episode linked at the end of this video because I know you will absolutely enjoy it. He is blind and he did the audio description. So the audio description, for those who don't know, for blind people like myself, when we watch TV, there's a secondary track, an AD track, that we can turn on in the settings. It is not on every show or movie, unfortunately, but thankfully it is on a lot of them nowadays. And so we can turn that on similar to the way you can turn on closed captions, and it'll provide audio description of visual things that we would miss watching without sight. It does not interrupt traditional dialogue. They are so good at what they do, and they seamlessly weave it in between dialogue, and they only fill in the important visuals that give context to the overall story. So my friend Ross Miner got to do the audio description, which is so cool. Like I just love inclusivity. They didn't need to hire a blind person to do the audio description, but I don't know, it means so much to me that they did. I ended up watching the first and I think maybe the second episode of season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated one, but I have not seen anything about the live action. And recently, my fiance stumbled across a trailer for season 2 of the live action, and he was like, "You need to react to this." We are going to watch the trailer that has audio description, and I believe it is my friend Ross doing the audio description for the trailer. So that's what I'm going to be reacting to today, and let's just get into it.
Aang destroys a fireball with a blast of wind.
Oh, it is Ross.
The Earth Kingdom
Refugees flood through a gate to a dock.
is going to fall.
Fire Nation soldiers surround refugees in the forest.
There's a Fire Nation army just beyond the wall.
Lightning crackles on the dock as a ship filled with refugees leaves, Zuko on board. A finely dressed woman wears a frozen smile.
I'm sorry, Avatar. You may be confused. There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Words appear on June 25th. Zuko looks over a moonlit Ba Sing Se wearing his fanged blue and white mask.
The Fire Nation hasn't stopped fighting. All over the Earth Kingdom, they're waging war.
Fire Nation soldiers stand in formation in an Earth Kingdom village.
If we're gonna defeat them, I need you to teach me earthbending. You're the best earthbender I've ever seen.
A milky-eyed girl wearing a green headband with white puffballs punches the air and launches large.
Do you want to react?
Sorry, I just heard the milky eye. Look, for those who didn't see my face when Ross did the milky eye description, I literally made like a gut reaction, like rah, shock face, because God, it drives me insane. That freaking trope drives me insane. Now, Ross is just doing his job. He's just reading a script. Also, it's so cool that this trailer is even audio described, because even for shows with audio description, it is rare that trailers are audio described. And I like that they clearly understood that because this does have a blind character, more likely there'd be even more blind people wanting to watch it than like any other show. And so they made the effort to audio describe the trailer, which is awesome. The milky-eyed thing though, man, that drives me insane. It is such a common trope that we see over and over and over again when a blind person is depicted on screen. The reality is, are there blind people with a foggy, milky gray eye appearance? Yes, there is. Traditionally, the most common cause for this is a condition called cataracts, which creates a film over top of your eye. Most blind people don't have cataracts. The majority of blind people do not have a foggy, milky gray eye appearance. And so while this is not entirely inaccurate, what frustrates me is that it's the default. In particular, it's frustrating because it leads to people like me who do not have much of a change to the appearance of my eyes. When you look closely, you'll notice my eyes do shake because of a condition called nystagmus. So it's frustrating that people like me get accused of faking blind because of how I look. And I faced that long before I ever started posting on social media. I faced being accused of faking it when I was actively going blind at 14. I was accused of faking it all through my teens. When I started here on social media, it really ramped up. There was like literally entire Reddit threads devoted to debunking my blindness. In my comment section, hundreds of people debating. And largely, the reason they would say I was faking was pointing to the fact that my eyes look, quote, normal. That I can't be blind because my eyes are a blue-green-gray color. That I can move my eyes, that I can look in the direction of the camera. People whose only touch point with learning about blindness has been through watching TV shows like this assume that Toph is being depicted with foggy, milky gray eyes because that's what blindness is. That's what blindness looks like. And when, shows like, what was the other one that did it? Game of Thrones. Hunger Games, Game of Thrones.
Was there a blind person in that?
Yep. They depict blindness in that show, I believe, with foggy, milky gray eyes as well. The reality is the live action is doing this because the animated show did this. And the thing is, given that creative liberties are taken all the time with adaptations, there's no reason they did have to stay true to the foggy, milky gray eyes. They didn't, right? We think of something like Harry Potter. My fiance told me that in the new TV show for Harry Potter, they changed the appearance of Harry Potter's scar. That's iconic. That is an iconic piece of his character, and they changed it in the new Legally Blonde TV show. Her blonde is ashy, which is not authentic to the time period which it would have happened, where honey blonde and yellow blonde, butter blonde, was the common trendy color. And it's also not authentic to the shade of blonde that Elle Woods had in the Legally Blonde movies. So they literally completely changed a part of her appearance and character. So there really isn't a reason that they had to continue on with this milky, foggy gray eyes. Okay, I didn't expect to get so irritated this early on. We will carry on.
This is the Avatar? Zuzu, he's a little boy.
Aang looks from Zuko to Azula. Words appear, return to the epic saga. Torches glitter around the Earth King's palace. Iroh's eyes glimmer with tears. Jet twirls his hooked swords. In a colossal library, a great owl spirit dives toward Aang.
We've already won.
Azula stands over Aang in the vast cavern lit by glowing crystals.
The question is, how much are you willing to lose?
Stone-gloved men with wide-brimmed hats surround Katara. The men haul Sokka away. Toph stands in a metal cell. Momo curls up in Appa's paw print. Appa roars in a meadow. Green stone forms a title, Avatar: The Last Airbender, only on Netflix June 25th.
Okay, well, first off, 10 out of 10, Ross. Well done. So good. His voice is really fantastic for audio description. It sounds so professional and crisp. I would love to do AD one day. I just think that would be so fun to get to do audio description for a show someday. Okay, that gives us a little bit of context. And for those who didn't know what audio description was, now you've gotten examples. And now I'm going to watch some kind of behind the scenes kind of video promo for the new season.
Up and at him, Bald Wonder.
This season, I'm really excited for people to see Toph being introduced.
Come on, Avatar. I'm gonna teach you to earthbend even if it kills me.
Casting Toph was a really extensive process. We looked at over 6,000 submissions. We narrowed it down, then did a chemistry read with Mia, and we knew she was Toph.
Mia got it. Mia embodied it. She was connected to the ground, to the earth, and I thought, that's Toph.
Well, it was a good try.
Really?
No!
Listen, I'm not saying that a sighted person cannot play a blind character, right? It is possible. Do I believe firmly that a blind person will always bring more authenticity? Absolutely, 100%. There's just things that we do. There's ways our bodies move. This is such a small example, but for me, as a blind person, my gait, my physical walk, doesn't look like a sighted person's walk. That's a very small, nuanced thing that, frankly, most sighted people would never even consider. I walk more flat-footed. So I don't roll my foot when I walk the way most people do. I kind of pick my foot up and put my whole foot down. My hands and my feet are my eyes. They are how I see the world. I feel what's under my feet when I walk, and that gives me important information about the texture that's under my feet, about where I am. And so it's harder for me to feel the texture if I'm only having like the ball of my foot or the heel of my foot on the ground at once. So I kind of pick up my whole foot. This is subconscious, right? I don't do this intentionally. I'm actually only aware I do it because of physiotherapists, because of personal trainers all pointing this out to me and the imbalance it's created in my gait and in my muscle tone throughout my legs and glutes. I take a more narrow step, so I don't take a long stride. Now, this is not to say every blind person has a similar gait to me, but it is to say many blind people do have a gait that is impacted by their blindness in some way. These are just the ways that my gait has been impacted. So these are just small ways that I don't think a sighted actor would really like know to do those little things. There's just so many small ways. And this is just an example that's applicable to like any blind character in any TV show, right? Like I'm not speaking specifically when I'm making this point to Toph. I do understand that a part of her plot, a part of this character is that she can, quote, see through the vibrations she feels under her feet when she walks. But that's also one of those things where, so like, wouldn't that impact her gait in a way that a sighted actor might not have considered? Like the way her feet need to almost like shuffle so she maintains constant contact. Or when she's walking on a surface where she does not have those vibrations that allow her to see, she would definitely have these blind characteristics come out more in those moments. The same way a person who has a spectrum of vision loss where they're maybe completely blind at night, like I was growing up, but have remaining vision during the day. I had more, quote, blind behaviors when I was in the dark than I did when I was in daylight. A person like me who has that lived experience of knowing what it's like to see better during certain periods of the day or certain times in my life than others, like I would be able to pull upon that lived experience to construct the way this character moves and behaves during certain moments. My point is, I am not saying a sighted actor could not embody all of these things. The point of being a good actor is that you can. In fact, I think that if I needed to, I could embody a sighted character even though I'm blind. That's not really what frustrates me. What frustrates me is there's so many talented blind actresses out there who would have killed for this role. And they're passed up on every other opportunity. Every sighted role out there that this sighted actor could have gotten, they don't get considered for. They only get considered for the very few blind roles that come up. And I personally find it hard to believe that they looked at 6,000 people and couldn't find one single talented enough blind actor who could have portrayed this character. That's just how I feel. Okay.
Their ground better.
I actually grew up with the series. I did an interview once when I was like 10 years old. Someone had asked me if I wanted to play Toph if they ever made a live action for Avatar. And then it happened and I was like, oh, I'm actually going to play Toph.
The Avatar needs to learn earthbending, so Toph has a huge role this season.
My friend Boomy said that my teacher would be a master of neutral Jing.
Never heard of it. Get out of my way.
Dang, Toph is like a really mean older sister, but younger and way stronger.
Pretty light on your feet, Twinkle Toes.
She has little to no filter, which means that she's very blunt and funny.
How can I bend something I can't see?
Whoa.
No, I didn't.
Don't apologize.
The character.
Okay, that's funny. I like that little line. Like, that's cute. That's funny. That's very much like a blind joke that I would make. I feel like that's a good, like, authentic moment because there is so many moments in real life where sighted people will be like, oh, see you later. And then they're like, oh, I didn't mean that. I'm like, it's fine. I also say see you later. So like, I do like that they had this. And again, like, would I rather there be a blind character that is played by a sighted actor than there be zero blind character? Probably. Yeah, because it is still giving some level of representation. However, we have to deconstruct, and I don't know because I haven't watched this enough to be able to speak to it fully, but we have to deconstruct whether that blind character is doing more harm overall or more good overall. So is it more often than not reinforcing the stereotypes, or is it helping to dispel them? The discomfort around using words like look, see, saw when you're talking with a blind person. And it's funny and it's cute and it shows that you can have a sense of humor around disability. So I do like that moment.
Toph is blind. It was amazing to watch Mia approach that role with such discipline and commitment.
Is she actually blind?
Either way, she's amazing.
Learning how to portray a fully blind character was one of the biggest insecurities I had about this role. Now, you have to see beyond what you can see.
Mia spent so much time working with our amazing blindness consultant, Joe Stretchy, so she could get those senses right. Every time Toph is on set, Joe is on set. Every time Toph is in rehearsal, Joe is in rehearsal.
First off, I'm glad she said it was her biggest insecurity because she should take this extremely seriously. Extremely seriously. She's representing a community that she does not live, that she does not understand, and that's a lot of power. So I'm glad she felt insecure and that she took it seriously. I remember going on an audition early on in my career. It was really frustrating. I was sitting in the room. When you go to live auditions, now we do so many virtual auditions, but when you go to a live audition, you sit in these rooms and all of you are there for the same character, right? So you're literally like sizing up your competition. And oftentimes you all look relatively similar, have certain similar features, you're the same age range, skin color, hair color, because they're looking for a very specific thing. This was obviously for a blind character. And there was another blind girl in the room, and then there was a sighted girl. And the mom of the other blind girl, she was ballsy, and she was talking to the sighted actor and was like, so how do you plan to authentically portray blindness? And she said, oh, I just look up at the ceiling. Just eyes to the ceiling. And that gets the role. Ugh, okay. So I do think it's like so important that you take this kind of thing seriously. And speaking to having a blind consultant on set, that is standard. That is very common. Basically, any show that I know of or movie I know of that has featured a blind character and had a sighted actor do it does hire a blind consultant. And that's great, right? Like that's, again, extremely important. However, you could hire one blind actor or hire a sighted actor and a blind consultant. Now you're hiring two people instead of one. Am I happy that this still provides a blind person a job? Yeah. Like we need blind people at every touch point. We need disabled people at every touch point in the entertainment industry. We need more blind people being employed. We need blind people to help shape these characters if they will not be authentically cast. So all of that's fantastic, but I'm still allowed to be frustrated. Okay.
He's brilliant.
We work together on how she touches things and moves through the world, thinking about the realities of blindness. But also, when Toph is bending, it's evident that she doesn't have to look at what she's doing. It's kind of like playing basketball and doing a no-look pass.
We provided contacts for her that completely blocked her vision. So she spent weeks training and practicing with those.
All of my castmates have been super.
Pause. The idea of giving her contacts that blocked her vision for weeks and then having her cosplay as blind. I'm sorry. Guess who wouldn't have needed to practice? Guess who wouldn't have needed weeks to practice? A blind person. Fancy that. Shut the hell up. Okay, play.
Telling me where things are in relation to me. That way I'm not going through the scene looking like I can't see, because Toph can see in her own unique way.
There's a secret life of the world, beneath the rock, beneath everything you think you know. If you can feel it, then you can change it.
I think the fans will be very excited about Mia's performance. She is absolutely Toph.
Even with all the science fiction and superpowers, we want children who are blind or low vision to watch this show and see themselves in the character. And I think Mia really played a big role developing live action version of Toph.
It's awesome. We have a new member of the family.
So I remember when my fiance saw this video last week, he came to me and was telling me about it and mentioned how the blind consultant said that we want blind and low vision kids to watch this show and see themselves. And then he opened the comment section and it was just a bunch of people being like, that's so stupid. Blind people can't watch TV. Blind people can't see themselves. And that is just so. Sometimes I feel like I live in a bubble because I've been doing this online for 12 years. And in doing so, I have seen such a huge shift in my comment section from the beginning when every comment was filled with misinformation to now where it feels like I have a community that like has been with me for so long and heard me on my soapbox so many times that they've learned. And so I don't see so much misinformation in my comment section. And I kind of feel like sometimes I'm like, ooh, change has been made. Progress. And then I go to other comment sections about blindness and I open them and I realize that there is still so much ignorance. There's still so much misinformation that we are up against. It's frustrating when, A, this is the blind consultant making that comment, and then people are telling him, a blind person, that blind people can't see themselves, that blind people can't watch TV, as if he himself, as a blind person, would not know. Come on now. Or like the fact that we're still at a place where there's so many people in the world living with the idea that blind people can't do something as simple as watch TV, and therefore, how low is their bar of expectation for us? Like if they don't think we can do simple everyday things like that, then there's still so many people walking around thinking we can do nothing. And it's just frustrating, but it also fuels my fire to keep doing the work that I do, to keep advocating. And I know that at the end of the day, like change has happened. And while it's slower than a lot of us would want, it is happening. We will get there. We just need to keep fighting. We need to keep advocating. We need to keep working. The more representation we have, the better. The more authentic it can be, even better. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I might have to give this a watch and, see if my opinions change. I remember this video went viral of the voice actor who played Toph in the animated one. She was also sighted. She wasn't blind. And I met her actually at a work event, and she watched my content and she was like excited to come over and meet me. And I would assume she watched my content after getting the role of Toph and like wanting to do some research and learn a bit. And again, I understand that people will be like, it's a voice actor, it doesn't need to be a blind person. But to me, when we are considered for so few roles, do I think it would be better to get to go to a blind person? Of course. But also like I think about a blind kid who watches that and goes to a con and stands in line to meet the voice actor of Toph and get a signed photo, and how much more it would mean to them if they met a blind person doing it. Because we grow up with such limited expectations of what we can do. Like I remember growing up knowing that 80% of blind people were unemployed and being told that the jobs that I would probably be able to have were to be a lawyer, to work at a bank, or to be a massage therapist or a therapist. Those were my options offered to me over and over again. That's how limited our opportunities are and the way people think. And so for a blind child to go and meet a voice actor who's blind, like what that would open up for them. And that's why representation matters at every level. And it's not just about how it's portrayed on screen. It's about what it means to our community to see ourselves truly, fully. And this video went viral of her because she got Braille on her photos so that when blind people do come up to her, because she said she does have a lot of blind fans approach her, she can give them like a photo that even though they can't see the photo and they can't see her signature, they can feel the Braille. And people were like freaking out and really excited about this. And like, it is great. I do think that's incredible. But I also think that that should be our expectation. If you're coming into our spaces and you're taking our opportunities and you're being a part of the narrative of blindness, the bare minimum you should be doing is putting in the effort to be inclusive to us. So, well, yes, it is amazing that she went above and beyond to do that because nobody told her to do that. She didn't have to do that. I do think instead of like celebrating people doing the smallest thing they can possibly do to include us when they came into our space, we should actually expect this of people. We should expect that if you're going to come into our spaces, you will do what it takes to include us in our space. So yeah, I don't know. I know I'm sure I have a lot of fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender who are going to be going off in the comment section and telling me I'm wrong, and that's fine because everybody's allowed to have their own opinion. This is just mine, and I formed it for a reason, as you formed your opinion for a reason, and maybe I don't have like full context on this show. I know my fiance who's sighted did get in a little comment section argument once with people around this hiring, and they were like, well, Toph has to be able to like do, what is it? Like martial arts. As if there's no blind people who can do martial arts. In fact, I think the blind content creator Anthony Ferrara went to the Paralympics for some form of martial arts. He is blind. So there are elite level, world-class blind athletes who can do different forms of martial arts. But beyond that, you're acting like stunt doubles don't exist and don't get used every single day for non-disabled actors. Guess what? They do. It's extremely commonplace. So that point is moot. And how much cooler would it have been to have a blind person do the martial arts scenes? Okay. Anyways, also, do you think they hired this actress? What was her name? Mia? Like, do you think they hired her because she can do martial arts? It's probably a bonus if they found somebody who could, but I'm guaranteeing you, as somebody who's been in many auditions, it's not a deal breaker if she couldn't. If she was the right actor for the role, they would just hire somebody to do the martial arts scenes if she was unable to do them. Anyways, that is all. I have literally talked way more than I thought I would. I was like, oh, we'll just sit down, have a little chit. No, I've been on my high horse. I am sorry. I've been on my soapbox. That is enough of me. I am shutting up now. If you would like to listen to the episode with Ross Minor on my podcast, What It's Really Like, you can click over here. Or if you want to hear me talk more about my feelings around authentic representation in Hollywood and movies that you should watch because they do have authentic representation, you can click over here. Love you guys. Bye.